Hello and welcome to the show, beautiful souls around the world. Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishmabhirakshitam. Paryaptam tvidamitesham balam bhimabhirakshitam.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a closer look at a single verse from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, verse 10.
Yes, it's one that a listener actually shared with us, containing an interesting interpretation.
Exactly. And our mission here is to go beyond just the surface reading of what Duryodhana says.
Mm-hmm.
We want to unpack it a bit, see what it might reveal about, ego, maybe fear, and what true strength really looks like for you.
Okay, so the verse itself, it's Duryodhana speaking. He's surveying the armies just before the battle begins.
Right.
And he tells his teacher, Drona, that his own army, which is protected by Bhishma, seems aparaptam, often translated as unlimited, or perhaps insufficient in another sense. It's debated.
Ah, interesting nuance already.
Yes, while the Pandav army, led by Bhima, he calls paraptam limited, or maybe sufficient. So there's this contrast.
So, okay, first glance, you read that, and it just sounds like, well, battlefield bravado, doesn't it?
Pretty much. Standard pre-battle talk.
He's basically puffing his chest out, saying, look how big and powerful we are with Bhishma, compared to them. Almost dismissive.
Exactly. Our side's immense. There's a small fry.
But like we always try to do here, let's dig a bit deeper.
Yeah.
What could be going on underneath this statement for you?
Well, yeah, that's where it gets interesting. This apparent confidence, this stark comparison, could it actually be masking something? Maybe some kind of insecurity?
That's a thought. I mean, why feel the need to state it so forcefully, right?
Precisely.
Bhishma is, undeniably a formidable warrior. Everyone respects him immensely. A legend.
Absolutely. The grandsire, the experienced general.
But Duryodhana knows, doesn't he, deep down, that Bhishma's loyalty is complicated. His heart isn't fully aligned with the Kaurava cause. He loves the Pandavas, too.
He does. There's that divided loyalty, which Duryodhana must sense.
So you can see how that might create some anxiety for Duryodhana. Maybe this loud declaration about being unlimited is actually covering up a fear that his foundation isn't as solid as it looks.
It's a classic psychological move, isn't it? Projecting strength to hide vulnerability, something maybe you can recognize sometime.
Yeah, definitely. And think about the contrast he draws. Bhishma, this revered, almost untouchable figurehead, versus Bhima. Now, Bhima might not have Bhishma's legendary status, but his commitment, it's absolute, 100% dedicated to the Pandavas, to their cause.
That's a crucial point. Bhima represents unwavering purpose, pure dedication. It highlights that real commitment, that fire in the belly, isn't necessarily tied to age or status or reputation.
Right. It's not something you can just count, like soldiers. It's an internal quality.
Exactly. Which leads us into maybe a more symbolic way of looking at this.
Okay.
Think of Duryodhana himself. His focus is all on the external, the size of the army, the name recognition of Bhishma. Could he represent the egoic self?
Ah, the part of us that needs that outside validation.
Yes. The part that builds its sense of security on things like possessions, power, titles, what other people think.
He's measuring his strength by these outward signs, his unlimited army.
And don't we see that everywhere today? It's kind of striking. People measure their worth by, like you said, social media likes, followers, bank balance.
It's the same pattern, isn't it? Equating external metrics with actual power or value.
It really is. Duryodhana's focused on the visible might, the numbers, the big names.
But in doing that, he seems totally blind to where the Pandavas' real strength lies.
Which is where?
Well, it's less visible, isn't it? It's their unity, their shared purpose, their moral compass, their connection with Krishna. It's internal.
That internal alignment, that's a different kind of power altogether. It's maybe quieter, but potentially much more resilient.
Yeah, I like the analogy you used earlier, like a huge, maybe impressive-looking ship, but it's got hidden cracks below the waterline.
Right, versus a smaller boat, maybe less flashy,
Yeah.
but it's watertight, solid, unified.
Which one do you bet on in a storm? The big one with the cracks or the small, sound one? It makes you think about perceived strength versus actual dependable strength for yourself.
Precisely, the illusion versus the reality.
So this really forces us to ask a pretty fundamental question, I think. For you listening, what is real strength? Is it the external stuff Duryodhana is clinging to, the numbers, the status, the appearances?
Or is it something, deeper, that internal alignment, maybe with your values, your purpose, what the he calls dharma or righteousness.
Yeah, because the strength that comes purely from the ego, from those external things, it feels inherently unstable, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It
Yep.
depends entirely on those outside conditions staying the same. If your status slips, or the numbers change, or people stop approving,
Then what? Your sense of strength just collapses.
it can, yeah. It's built on shifting sand.
Whereas that inner strength, the one rooted in, say, your core beliefs, your integrity, maybe a connection to something bigger than just your own ego,
That feels more durable, more resilient.
it's yours, isn't it? It's an inner resource. Nobody can just take that away from you in the same way they can take away possessions or status.
Exactly right. And Duryodhana, by focusing so intensely on the paryaptam and aparaptam, the limited and unlimited, the visible aspects,
He's missing the point.
he's missing the deeper reality. He's blind to the invisible sources of true power. And maybe, sometimes we fall into that trap too.
So the conflict isn't just soldiers on a field, it's playing out internally as well.
Very much so. It's illusion versus truth, ego versus spirit, fear versus maybe faith or conviction, a battle you might recognize in your own life.
Okay, so let's bring this home for everyone listening. Hearing Duryodhana's words, this comparison, maybe ask yourself, where in my life am I measuring strength mainly by outward appearances?
Good question. Am I looking at the size of someone's house or their job title or their following online and automatically assuming that means they're strong or successful?
Or even for yourself, are you maybe focusing too much on the visible signs, the unlimited appearance perhaps?
And maybe be honest here.
Yeah.
Are there places where you project that kind of confidence? That everything's fine, I'm totally in control vibe. But actually, underneath, you're feeling uncertain or anxious. A bit like Duryodhana might be feeling about Bhishma's loyalty.
It takes courage to admit that, even to yourself.
It does. But what might it feel like for you to just acknowledge those inner feelings rather than trying to constantly project something else?
And maybe consider this. What could shift for you, genuinely shift, if you put more energy into aligning your choices and actions with what you really value deep down? With your own sense of purpose, your conscience, instead of getting so caught up in needing external validation or keeping up appearances?
That's a powerful redirection of focus.
Yeah. So this one verse, this seemingly simple comparison of armies you shared with us,
It turns out to be a pretty profound little mirror, doesn't it?
it really does. It shows how easily the ego can dominate our perception, especially when we feel threatened or insecure.
And it's a caution, really, a warning for you against automatically equating the superficial signs, the noise, the numbers, the outward show, with genuine strength or truth.
So the core insight, maybe the takeaway here, is that real power, enduring strength. It's not about the outer show.
No, it seems to lie much more in that inner coherence, that alignment within you.
With your values, your integrity, that quiet inner wisdom we all have access to, even if we don't always listen to it.
Right. So maybe a final thought to leave you with. As you go about your day, just notice, where are you placing your trust? Is it mostly in what you can see and measure?
And perhaps more interestingly, what are the hidden roots of your own strength? The parts that aren't immediately obvious, maybe even to you. What nourishes your resilience?
That's something worth reflecting on.
Indeed it is. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into just one, yet incredibly rich verse.
Always a pleasure.
Until next time.